A very warm welcome to the quarter-ended Q4 FY18 earnings calls of our company, Shree Pushkar Chemicals and Fertilizers Ltd. On the call, I am joined with Mr. Sengupta, our Associate Director, Mr. Ratan Jha, our CFO, and SGA, our Investor Relation Advisor team. Our results and presentations have been made available on the stock exchanges and uploaded on our websites, and I hope all of you have had a chance to look at it. Friends, let me take this opportunity to give you a brief overview of our company and its overall performance and its new developments, post which Mr. Sengupta will take you through the other financial performances of the company. Friends, we are pleased that the exponential rise into the dyestuff segment has witnessed over the quarters for the financial year 18. The contribution of the dyestuff segment was about 26% of the total revenue. Also, the textile chemical demand is slowly also catching up. The dyestuff segment continues to grow as keep expanding our customer base. Our additional capacity of 3,000 tons per annum of dyestuffs, which was commissioned in November 2017, has commenced its production successfully. With commissioning of the additional capacity of dyestuff, now we have doubled our capacity to manufacture of textile reactive dyes. During the year, we have had a 145% volume growth over the last year. The growth in the segment is in the line with our vision shared previously, and we expect this trend to continue in coming quarters. In dyes and dyes intermediate segment, our business has been steady. The captive consumption of manufacturing of dyes has increased, and with commissioning of the additional capacity, we expect this trend to continue going forward. Our backward integration across our intermediates offers stability in terms of input procurement and the natural hedge of the price fluctuation. This has helped us to maintain our margins. Our new HSC plant, which was commissioned in March 2017, was under trial in Q1 FY18. The commercial production from which the plant began in the first week of August 2017. This additional capacity has provided an added boost to our volumes during the quarter. In an industry like specialty chemicals, which generates high level of waste, we have been able to consistently recycle our waste to create diverse product offerings for our customers. We also continue to uphold our high standards of environmental and regulatory compliances. At this juncture, I would like your attention to our recent announcement that we have recently acquired a new plot of land measuring 40,000 square meters at additional MIDC Lote Parshuram, which is near to the existing infrastructure of the company, at a price of 3.25 crores. And we are in the process of expansion by way of establishing additional capacities in the areas of dyes intermediates and sulfur dyes chemicals with an additional capex of 75 crores. Coming back to our performance in FY18, the fertilizer division on a standalone basis saw a overall degrowth of about 6% compared to the same period last year, contributing around 14.6% to its overall sales. In the fertilizer division, we also commissioned our additional capacity of 10,000 tons of SOP during Q4 FY18. Friends, as you are well aware that we have recently acquired 100% stakes of a company, Kisan Phosphates Private Limited, for 9+ crores. Kisan is in a similar segment of business, but in a separate geographical area. For FY18, company had an overall performance of 45.6 crores, which was increased by 28 crores over its last performance year. The sales on pro rata basis during 5.5 months post-acquisition has contributed 25.2 crores and PAT of 1.7 crores. The reorganization in the business, as you will recall, was preliminary by way of prepayment of high-term cost of 8.33 crores and switching over to the banker, reduction into the cost of funds by 4 bips point in addition to other cost benefits on non-fund limits. We are also in a process of setting up a backward integration facilities at Kisan Phosphates, which will give us a cogeneration power plant of 700 kilowatts power to cut down our existing power cost. The above initiative would further boost the profitability of Kisan Phosphates. Coming back, as far as your acid division is concerned, it's mainly support our in-house and requirement of dyes and dyes intermediate division. Only the surplus acid is sold to the local market in addition to the cost advantages. This strategy keeps us hedged against any supply issues into the market. On the whole, I may state that we have had a negative impact this quarter on our margins due to lower realization across various products vertical in Q4. But we have, however, experienced a good volume growth across the diesters and dyes intermediates, being 145% and 10% respectively. Friends, we are confident of building a sizable and sustainable business to add to its value products for our customers and grow our diester business. We also hope to broaden our market share and its reach through initiative marketing processes. Now I would like to hand over the call to Mr. Sengupta to take you through the financial performance of the company.
Thank you, Mr. Puneet. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining on the call. Let me take you through our result highlights. The total revenue from operations grew by 29.2% from rupees 305.9 crores in FY17 to 395.3 crores in FY18. In financial year 18, EBITDA grew by 17.8% to 61.1 crores as against 51.9 crores in last year, with a margin of 15.4%. In financial year 18, PAT grew by 21% to 36.5 crores from 30.2 crores last year. The PAT margin for financial year 18 was 9.2%, taking the EPS from 12.09 as against 10, which was last year. Now, as regards the standalone segmental performance, dyes accounted for around 27.4% of the total revenue in FY18, being sustained contribution from diester segments to our revenues, which has been on the uptrend. The dye intermediates, which comprise of around 54.2% of revenue in FY18, has been a steady state business. The segments saw 10% volume growth compared to the same period last year. However, higher captive utilization for production of dyes has brought down its revenue contribution. The sales revenue from acid complex was about 2.1%, which degrew due to increase in the internal consumption by way of additional production of dyes and dye intermediates. The fertilizer segment contributed 14.6% to sales and witnessed a volume degrowth of about 8% and revenue degrowth of about 6% in FY18. Lastly, the cattle feed, which accounts for about 1.6% of our business, grew by 9.1% in volume and 5% in value terms for the financial year 18. With this now, I open the floor for the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone phone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Rishabh Parekh from Suniti Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Parekh, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Makaria. Just a couple of questions. If you can just throw some more color on the margin deterioration in Q4 FY18. What, other expenses have gone up 10 crores year on year and about 3-4 crores quarter on quarter. So just want to understand what's happening with the raw material prices, other expenses and lower realization like you mentioned.
Let me give you a little bit of idea. If at all you see the overall performance of dye intermediates as well as dyes, the average price realization has been steadily going down from quarter 1 to the last quarter. That was one of the main reasons. And somewhere around, beginning of the fourth quarter, the raw material prices also have had a slightly increase in the prices. So with all this, there has been a certain amount of contraction in the total margins which we have had. That was one of the main reasons. But of course, we were anticipating that this will go, the raw material prices and the finished goods prices would go hand in hand. But then there has been a little bit of time lag. With the result, now you can see that the intermediate prices are going up now, whereas actually the raw material prices have gone up slightly earlier. this was one of the main reasons. Now, as regards the salaries, whatever is concerned.
See, Mr. Parikh, coming to your specific reply, if you'll see that on a standalone basis, that the overall expenses which has gone up from 29 crores to 37.82 crores. So it is approximately 8 crores by the way of expenses has gone. And if you look at our situation is that like the way we started our HSD plant in March 2017, whereas it got established somewhere in August 2017. So if during these 5 months, whatever the expenses, like, there is a sharp increase into the terms of the salary, wages, packing material, consumption of stores, and, power and fuel bills. Because of that, all the expenses have gone up. That is mainly only because, we have started 2 more new units. Rather, 3 more expansions we have completed in this financial year. One is for the HSD, which, was started in March, but whereas it commissioned in this August 2017, as well as dyes and, the additional capacity of SOP. So by starting 3 new additional plants, all the charges have gone up, which comprises of all the manufacturing expenses, which I briefed earlier.
So this should be the new run rate for expenses. This about 30-35 crores per year.
Yes, 37 crores.
7 crores is okay. And just wanted to understand also that we understand that the prices of H acid and vinyl sulfone have gone up substantially post post Q4. How much of vinyl sulfone and H acid will be consumed internally as of now on expanded capacity of 6,000 dye stuff?
Mr. Parikh, coming back to your earlier question, I would like to add one more point into is that, since we started with these 3 new expansions in a, this periodical manner in the last financial year, and in this current financial year, that is of 18-19, we will be able to get the full production, and, by that way, if you look at the charges, all the charges will be subsidized in this financial year. Yeah, now, the second question about, can you please repeat that question, please?
What we understand is H acid and vinyl sulfone prices have gone up after Q4 substantially. How much of H acid and vinyl sulfone is consumed internally? And wanted to understand also, have the prices of dye, the finished good, also moved up in conjunction?
See, basically, price improvement, what we see in the middle of Q1 of this financial year, in fact, these corrections was expected in Q4 of the last financial year. But, always there is some cyclic issues, and, the impact is not made immediately. It takes some time. Because if you little bit go back into the past, like in our matter, all the raw material prices, which, we started going up from the end of Q3 and beginning of Q4. By that time, the prices of raw materials were quite high, including all the basic raw materials. Then thereafter, the price improvements of the intermediates came in Q1 of this financial year, whereas it was expected in the last financial year itself. Same way, the dye stuff impact would be visible somewhere in July, not immediately.
Right, fair enough. And sir, I wanted to also understand as a percentage of your dye intermediary capacity, how much is consumed in-house and how much is sold externally, or assuming a capacity of 6,000 metric tons of dye stuff production?
See, what I'll tell you is that the consumption of these intermediates vary from product to product, more so in terms of black and colored. Now, if at all we go by whatever we have had the consumption during last year, where we had roughly about 5 to 6 months of operation of the year, there we will see that we had roughly about 17% was consumed by dyes. The balance, about 69%, was consumed for the intermediates. We have overall had a capacity utilization of nearly about 86-87%. About 17 to 18% was consumed by the manufacturing internal consumption by dyes. Now, since this capacity has increased from 3,000 to 6,000, and the capacity utilization also will go up steadily, and depending upon what we are going to get exactly, whether it will be black or colored. In the colored, the consumption of H acid is much lesser than what is there in the blacks. So, what we can say is that roughly about, say, 30 to 35% will be consumed by the dyes in general. But of course, I may be a little late because it will depend upon what is the product mix we are actually
that is very important
to sell. And then the balance amount will be available for sale. So roughly about 70% of this will be available for sale. Now we have already had that H acid additional capacity commission that has appeared only in the fourth quarter, whereas now what will happen is that we are getting for the full year. So our total capacity now stands somewhere around 9,000 tons, 8,986 tons to be precise.
Right.
So this is how the whole situation is. Of this, roughly about 30% or so, 30 to 35% will go for dyes. The balance available will be available for intermediate sales.
And, just wanted to ask you a balance sheet question. The cash conversion cycle, which is mainly led by inventory and receivables, from 75 days has moved to about 105 days this year. What is the reason for this? Is the dye business, the dye stuff business, more working capital intensive than the dye intermediate business?
See, first of all, let me tell you, you need to also take into this account one point in this question is that the volume has also this gone up. So I don't know from where you got the figure of 105 days. So can you tell me what is the calculation of 105 days of Mr. Parikh? Because
I'll tell you, it is inventory plus receivables less payables divided by your sales.
The working capital cycle it is.
Why it has gone up? Can you reply?
Because there was a certain amount of build-up of finished goods. Finished goods inventory was built up at the end of the year.
See, it is like this. Since I told you before that the price rise was expected somewhere by the mid of Q4. And though it was delayed, that we can see is into the Q1. So there was some more of the inventories which is which was not earlier, and that inventory was built up by us because we were looking for the price increment and this price improvement in the next quarter of this financial year. So that is a factor. Second factor is that in the dyes business generally there is some large amount of working capital is required in comparison with the other businesses of the company. So it is a mixture of the mixture of both the issues. That is why we see this this more of inventory level of 105 days.
Sir, and just last question, your debt has become 50 crores. Now there is another 75 crore capex coming in your the intermediary business. Then there is another proposed capex in your textile chemical business. And also there will be some amount of fertilizer subsidy that we will have to bear because we have now terminated a contract with DCM Shriram. So over the next 2 years, what kind of debt is would we be comfortable with?
See, Mr. Parikh, as of now, company do not have any long-term debts on it, except our Kisan Phosphates, for which a new debt we have taken for the new expansion of the same. Secondly, as far as our new expansion of 75 crores is also coming, that will be also funded by majority of the internal accruals, and the balance will be, this taken from the other means of the financing, either by way of the debt or some other way of means of the financing of the same. As far as the cash generation of the company is concerned, if you see that the company is maintaining high amount of inventories by the end of the year. Now we have started, the process of liquidating those inventories and generating cash out of it. So I don't think that, this debt will be so high on the, this onto the company. And once we start our backward integration at our Hisar plant also, in this Kisan Phosphate, that will make the total electricity and other charges, free from, that company. If you see by the end of 18-19, or I don't think that, there will be more of the debt into, this onto the company. What we see in this balance sheet of 50 crores, first of all, this 50 crores is a mixture of fund-based and non-fund-based both. I don't think that we will be requiring anything more than that.
Fair enough. Thank you.
This concern, that will be met mainly from the internal these accruals of the company. And we have to also see a factor that the volume and the business of the company has also grown up.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you. Very clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from the line of Shashank Kanodia from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. So for Q4 specific, so none of the competitors have witnessed such sharp deterioration in margins, right? So was there any company-specific issue that we witnessed?
See, basically, Mr. Kanodia, if you'll see in Q4, as we mentioned earlier also, that there is a little bit the pricing pressure. That is why, we have maintaining a high inventory also, and basically it is a mixture of, that the pricing of the finished products was very low in the Q4. So that is why we preferred to sell less quantity. So ultimately, this impact of our degrowth into the, this Q4 results.
Okay. So what was the average HSC realization and vinyl sulfone realization for Q4?
If you see overall, there should be around 355 to 360 rupees for HSC and around 230 rupees for vinyl sulfone.
That was only the fourth quarter.
Okay. And so for the last year, corresponding period, what was that?
Do we have that?
I don't have it here.
We don't have that figure right now, Mr. Kanodia.
Okay. And so what is the present prevailing realization of HSC and what's your outlook on that?
What is the prevailing price?
Yes.
As of now, the prevailing price, we are already having quite a good orders at the rate of almost 700 plus for HSC and almost 300 plus for vinyl sulfone.
Okay. So, sir, largely dye intermediate selling is on spot basis, or do we have some long-term contract as well?
When the market is going up, then there is no sense in meeting, doing some long-term contracts. As of now, we are doing it spot business.
Okay. So, the month of June will have all spot sales, right? So, 700 kind of realization for HSC and 300 for vinyl sulfone.
There should not be any surprises if the prices go high further also.
Okay. So, situation of Waste 1 shutdown, or what the scene on China?
See, China scene, I believe you would be knowing better than us. And in China, basically, we have been talking this factor for the last 2 years or so. Situation of China is going from bad to worse. That industry in China is facing, very high tailwinds in that matter. If you see the basically, the reason lies for the situation of China is that the northern part of the Jiangsu province, this province, due to the continuous fermentation of the environment, all the units and the chemical parks in that particular area has been closed down. If you see the heavyweights into our industry, without naming anyone, almost each and every factory has been closed. Like if you see, this Hubachuan is facing a closure, Yabang is facing a closure, and recently we got to heard that, one company called Henan is also facing a closure. Means all the majority of the heavyweights in China are facing a closure or shutdowns or slowdown into the production. Ultimately, impact of that is going to be there into the, this overall industry, which is improving into the price levels.
Okay. So can these prices sustain for good amount of time?
Pardon?
So can these prices sustain for good amount of time in HSC and vinyl sulfone?
How long?
Hopefully, I think it should continue for at least, next 4 months we can see, yes, it will continue. Then let us see, how the changes reacts either in a positive or, let's see.
Okay. And so then, given that dye intermediates are key raw material for dye stuff, so is the transmission towards dye stuff pricing immediate, or is it with a lag? How does the pricing of dye stuff move then?
It doesn't transform immediately, but definitely it takes, its own time of approximately 30 days to 60 days. But in July somewhere we can definitely see the price impact into the dye stuff pricing also.
True. So secondly, just to confirm that for the dye stuff plant, we have, in-house HSC and vinyl sulfone separately, right? So the existing capacity of 7,200 tons of dye intermediates will not get affected because of it.
No, why should it get affected? Why should it get affected?
So we have already, that is what I'm going to confirm. So we have 1,000 tons of HSC and 750 tons of vinyl sulfone.
No, 1,000 tons of vinyl sulfone and 750 tons of HSC.
Right, so this is self-sufficient for 6,000 tons of dye stuff, right?
More or less, yes.
Yes, so the existing
capacities also. No? We have our earlier capacities also.
So that is true. So that existing all capacities can be put to external commercial purposes, right?
Yes.
So, okay. And so on the margin,
one thing I wanted to add here is that, you see, in the past we have seen that whenever the prices are shooting up, or rather very volatile, people tend to decrease their orders temporarily. And that takes care of this year. So therefore, whenever the prices are at the peak levels, then the order position comes down. People utilize their inventories first, and then only the makeup amount of material is taken. So it will all depend upon how long this price is going to sustain. If it is sustaining for 4 or 5 months, then probably people will tend to utilize their inventories first. But if it is on a little longer term, then probably the bulk orders will also start flowing in. This is one of the specific things which we have observed during the last about 2 years back. A similar situation had prevailed, and we had seen this was one of the main factors.
Okay. Now, so coming to
sorry to interrupt, Mr. Shashank Kanodia, but may I request you to rejoin the question queue for any follow-up questions? We have several participants waiting for their turn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in the conference, please limit your questions to 2 per participant. The next question is from the line of Pragya Vishwakarma from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. My first question is on the current capacity of dye stuff. So what is our current utilization with this 6,000 tons of capacity?
It is not 6,000 tons, it is 4,000 tons.
Current capacity of dye.
Capacity, you see, we have 3,000 tons which was there existing. The fourth capacity, the additional 3,000 tons which has actually come into operation has only during the last quarter. So basically, or if at all you take the pro rata of that additional capacity, the installed capacity was about 4,000 tons. Now we have had overall roughly about, nearly about 84-85% of utilization.
Okay, so currently at 500 tons per month, we are utilizing 80-85%, right?
Yes.
To be precise, it is around 82%, Pragya.
82%,
yeah.
Okay. And of this production, how much are we exporting?
Exports, majority, there's a mixture of exports as well as of the domestic sales, Pragya. And exporting, it is through some merchant exports also, which we take into as a local sales for us.
Okay.
I hope you understood what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understood your point, but will that be a bigger chunk of the overall proportion of dye stuff?
Means?
So these merchant sales which we are doing and accounting as a,
If we classifying in this sales into the local sales, not as exports.
Okay, but this is a big amount which we are doing via merchant sales?
So see, this is a basically a mixture of, certain local customers where we sell directly, certain, customers who buy from us in merchant exporters and certain customers to whom we export directly. So it is a mixture of all the scenarios together.
Okay. And maybe in the previous con calls you would have indicated this, but can you give some color on the pricing of red, black and yellow dye stuff?
Should I give you the pricing structure for
just the average realization.
Average realization, see, basically the pricing depends of the black, red and yellow, but just for your better understanding, you can take the blacks goes from 210 rupees to 280 rupees. Now such a variation is there because of their quality into that. This depends on to the strength into that particular product. So it is, it is difficult for me to give you any, the vanilla pricing for the, dye stuffs. Like the way we gave you the pricing for the HSC, okay, let's say it is 700 rupees. So HSC is a standard pricing. And whereas the dyes pricing is concerned, that depends on this, this quality, standardization and, the other parameters. But for your understanding, if you take, you can take up to 210 rupees to 280 rupees. Like the yellows, you can take from again 225 to 360 rupees also.
Okay.
And the reds, if you will see, that will be also almost in the same kind of a range. As overall, you can take the, the average, the pricing could be around 275 rupees for each item.
Okay, and we are majorly making black dyes, right?
Black, reds and yellows, all colors also.
Okay. And my last question would be on the current CAPEX announcement which you have made. So I think in the presentation also you have mentioned about sulfur chemicals, right? With dye intermediates and sulfur chemicals. So possible for you to throw some light on it, like which is the area, which will be the end user customer for this particular expansion, the new, chemical this thing we are doing, and by when do we plan to complete the process for it?
Pragya, primarily we will be, doing a capex in our own known field only. We will not be diverting from our existing field to some another field. And since we have said that we are going into the expansion for the sulfur chemistry, and sulfur chemistry consists of 8-10 different kind of products. So we will be going into those products, and as far as the dyes intermediates are concerned, there will be having some couple of products also, for which we have already applied for the environment clearance to the respective authorities. But surely we will be going into the same kind of expansions.
Okay, and when do...
sorry to interrupt, Pragya Vishwakarma, but may we request you to rejoin the question queue? We have several participants waiting for their turn. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Naushad Chaudhary from Systematic Shares and Stocks. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Just a data point, if you can share your volume numbers of DS and DI in Q4, how much we did vis-a-vis last year?
DS?
DS बोले तो dye stuff, DI बोले तो dyes intermediates.
What exactly do you want?
The volume number.
Volume numbers, you see the intermediates we sold somewhere around 6,230 tons for the whole year, whereas dyes were to the tune of about 3,350 tons.
And in this quarter, how much you sold?
Huh?
In Q4 FY18, how much you sold dye intermediate and dye stuff?
That breakup, I may not have it. Anyway, I'll give you a rough idea. Dyes we sold nearly about 1,000 tons, whereas intermediates we sold nearly about 1,800 tons.
Naushad, just to give you a better feedback, overall if you will see, we have achieved almost 80 to 82% production capacity in terms
86%.
of 86%
in terms of intermediates.
In terms of intermediates, and almost 82% in terms of dye stuffs.
Okay. Other thing on this are other expenses and employee cost. Should we take this quarter of 14 crore rupees as a run rate going ahead in your other expenses, or should it come down, sir?
See, first of all, 14 crores includes on a consolidated basis, then this includes the other expenses for our subsidiary Kisan Phosphates also. And if you will see as a standalone, this alone basis, it is only 8 crores. So 8 crores is on the standalone basis, and approximately 6 crores is on a consolidated basis. So that is for basically Kisan Phosphate. So obviously those expenses would be there. Rather now we will be getting a result for the whole 12 months performance for our new expansions, what we completed in the last financial year. And majority, since the stabilization took some more time, but in this financial year we'll be getting the full capacity of the same.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Girish Raj from Quest Investment. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Just one question on the fertilizer segment.
Girish.
Yeah, so I just wanted management's view on the SSP with a lot of initiative by the government to take out furious products in this particular segment, and how do we see this going forward in FY19 perspective?
See, Girish, if we see overall thought process of the government in this particular sector is that government is promoting the domestic fertilizer. And SSP is considered to be a poor man's fertilizer, and which the majority is produced into the India. Being it's a phosphatic fertilizer, it's a replacement of the imported fertilizer. So looking at the same aspect, government is boosting this and this promoting the sales of SSP. And one idea out of that is that the government has increased the subsidy by 568 rupees per metric ton into the SSP business. If you take about 568 rupees, that is almost 25% of the old subsidy.
Okay.
So that increment government has already given. Okay. Apart from the increment into the subsidy, the government has also introduced new factors like, this POS machine and DBT and, all these kind of things. Definitely these issues are under process. And it is taking some more time in stabilizing in terms of the, this connectivity and other related, this operational issues. But if you talk about a long-term view on these new policies of the government, definitely these are very excellent and very, these good policies. This will curb all kind of non-ethical, unethical businesses, these trade practices, whereas the government is, is completely inclined to, give the actual subsidy to the actual consumers. So basically, this kind of a drive by the government will definitely boost our fertilizer businesses. I personally believe that, coming H1 till H1 could be a little bit, the stabilizing phase for this SSP industry. But by the end of Q3 and Q4, we see a substantial growth into this fertilizer business.
So what was our volume in FY18, sir, in SSP?
FY18, if we see in Pushkar, Maharashtra plant, we have touched almost 1,000 tons. And in Haryana plant, we have did an incremental sale from 42,000 tons to 55,000 tons.
And any outlook on this? How do we see FY19?
FY19, we have kept a target of both the units total including 120,000 tons.
And sir, last question is, what was the margin that EBITDA per ton in SSP that you achieved? FY18, broadly?
Broadly, if you see, it should be somewhere around 10 to 12%.
12 to 13%.
Should be around 12%.
No, EBITDA per ton, I would mean.
That is what I am saying, EBITDA per ton. Are you asking in terms of rupee or in terms of...
rupees.
Rupees में आप समझो approximately 800 रुपया per ton.
800 रुपया.
Okay, 800. Yes, sir. ये 800 ही रहेगा or can it go to 1,000 because...
देखिए अभी जो सब्सिडी ये मैंने जो आपको फिगर दिया ये लास्ट फाइनेंशियल ईयर का है. ठीक है. अब ये फाइनेंशियल ईयर में 568 रुपए की सब्सिडी सरकार ने बढ़ा दी.
बट रॉ मटेरियल प्राइस
रुपए की सब्सिडी बढ़ने के साथ साथ फाइनेंशियल एक्सपेंसेस बढ़ेंगे. बिकॉज सब्सिडी जो पहले 30 दिन में आ जाया करती थी
वो 7 दिन
नहीं सर 7 दिन तो लेट अस नॉट टॉक अबाउट द 7 days बराबर है. हाँ, क्योंकि 7 दिन में तो किसान के घर में पहुंचेगी और किसान अंगूठा लगाएगा तब 7 दिन में आएगी. प्रैक्टिकली देखोगे तो वो प्रैक्टिकली 5 से 6 महीने में आएगी.
ओके.
हाँ, तो जो 5 से 6 महीने में अब जो सब्सिडी इस साल में आएगी और जो गए साल में जो 30 days में सब्सिडी आ जाया करती थी उसका जो एक फाइनेंशियल इम्पैक्ट आएगा वो डेफिनेटली आएगा. बट इन टोटलिटी ऑफ बोथ द थिंग्स एंड क्लबिंग टुगेदर ऑल्सो देयर विल बी इम्प्रूवमेंट इन टू द प्रॉफिट मार्जिन ऑफ दिस प्रोडक्ट.
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच.
थैंक यू. The next question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. Sir, can you just elaborate on the segmental volumes for FY18? If I'm right, you said dyes 3350 tons, dye intermediate 6230, fertilizers 45,000, that's our own, and Kisan Phosphates is 55,000 tons. What is the component of acid complex and cattle feed in terms of tons?
The cattle feed we have sold roughly about 2,340 tons.
Right.
The acid, of course, it is only basically the plant which we have, sulfuric acid is basically for captive consumption, and whatever is left over we sell in the market. So that we have sold roughly about 14,000 tons.
Okay.
I'm just giving you the rounded figures, 14,000 tons of acid. Roughly about 2,300 tons of cattle feed. Fertilizers, we have 4 products, One is SS, then we have NPK, we have SOP, we have soil conditioner. All together, we have sold roughly about 55,000 tons.
Okay.
And then dyes, we have sold roughly about 3,264 tons. And dye intermediates about 6,600 tons.
Okay, this is for the entire year, you said, right?
Entire year, yes.
Yeah, and fertilizers, you said 55,000 tons, that is our own fertilizers, right? And Kisan Phosphates is another...
We don't trade in fertilizers. All are manufactured at our end.
I was just...
The product is SSP.
Right.
That we have sold a year. Then we have another, the soil conditioner and the NPK.
Correct, sir.
Together, our capacity is roughly about 30,000 tons. So that is there. And then SOP, we have had 10,000 tons earlier, and this last quarter we have added, nearly end of the year we have added another 10,000 tons.
Okay. And Kisan Phosphate sales have been close to about 55,000 tons. Is that right?
Yeah, this is the last year we did.
Right, sir. Right. And in terms of intermediates, I just had a question that now since the prices of vinyl sulfone and HACid have been on a higher side, so is it possible for us to sell the intermediates instead of converting them into dyes and selling them?
Sir, as I mentioned earlier, that the dyes impact would be coming after 1.5 or 2 months. So
right,
basically it's a business decision, and obviously that will be taken in the favor of the company. Whatever is the best possible manner to increase the profitability of the company, will be obviously doing it.
Correct, sir. Correct. Okay, fair enough, sir. So in terms of utilization, you said the dye intermediate utilization is close to about 86%. What is the maximum utilization level that we can work at for both dyes and dye intermediates?
So if the market is steady, if at all we are getting it, then we can even go up to about 90-92% also. But that is very rare. Normally about 85-86% is a fair utilization capacity.
Okay, fair enough, sir. So just last one question. In terms of the capex that we mentioned, will that entire 75 crores be done into this year? And what kind of revenues can we expect to generate from this capex in FY20 and maybe afterwards?
What will happen is that we will start off the year, now 75 crores, the entire thing, probably we may get next year 1 quarter. The last quarter we may get operation out of these expansions.
Right.
On an average, you can say that we should be able to do roughly about 175 crores on a optimum utilization basis.
Right. Fair. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ayush B. from Equitas Investment. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, sir, first I wanted to confirm this. So you said your raw material prices went up in Q3 and beginning of Q4. Then your dye intermediate prices increased in Q1 this year. So dye stuff prices you're expecting to increase in July. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, next thing I want to ask you, so this year our full dye stuff capacity of 6,000 will come into line, right?
Correct, full year.
So what utilization are we expecting this year out of that 6,000?
I think we should consider as 80% only, because as I mentioned earlier that the dye stuff pricing does not get impacted immediately in terms of the rising pricing of the intermediates.
Correct.
There could be a slack of the sale in around June or July.
Okay.
Right. But as a whole, I think it would be better to calculate around 70 to 80%, because we will be getting more better price realization in terms of the intermediates pricing selling.
Correct. Right. Okay, and my next question is regarding the preferential allotment that we made. So we made a preferential allotment of approx 10 crores, right?
Allotment what we made was declared in October 2017 when we took over Kisan Phosphates. So that is basically, this compensation paid by Shree Pushkar Chemicals to the promoters of Kisan Phosphate. That was by way of the preferential allotment. So this is nothing new, preferential allotment. Nothing has been allotted new. Okay. Basically, Kisan Phosphate was acquired by our company, Shree Pushkar Chemicals, by swapping of the shares.
Correct. So this was
and that preferential allotment is towards the takeover of Kisan.
Right. So no further allotment would be there?
No further dilution, nothing.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. And
no dilution.
Yeah. And my last question would be, so what kind of growth we are expecting this year then?
I believe, Mr. Ayush, the company has been growing at a CAGR of almost about 20%.
Correct.
And let us see how good this year goes.
Right.
So we should cross more than 20%.
Yeah, we should be around. But if at all we go by the price, without taking into consideration the price impact, the additional price impact, we should be in a position to get roughly about 20 to 22% rise next year.
20 to 22% volume growth.
Volume growth, yeah.
Right. Okay, that would be it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Srinath Sridhar from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Just wanted to know that considering that this quarter was a one-off in margin on the margin front, on a standalone, we clocked around 17.5% throughout the year. So, going forward with favorable prices in dye intermediates, what kind of margin are you looking at? Because it is an absurd rise in prices.
तो साहब ये सवाल जो है ना, इसका जवाब तो मैं भी आज आपको नहीं दे सकता, बिकॉज अभी गए साल 350 में बेचा, ये साल 700 में बेचा, तो परसेंटेज नंबर तो मैं कहाँ से निकाल के लाऊंगा आपको?
तो पर हम लोग कैलकुलेट कैसे करें?
तो आप ही कैलकुलेट कर लो, मेरे से मत पूछो, जब क्वार्टर कंप्लीट होगा तब बात करेंगे सर, अभी नहीं.
No, see, if at all you see from day one from this quarter, prices have been steadily rising. Now, how much it will rise, we are unable to really fathom out. So, depending upon what is the...
let us not
we are not commenting anything on that. So, how can we just say... So, based on... That's why when I talked in terms of the utilization, I said that considering this as a year, we will have considered about a 20% growth. Now, if at all we get a better price realization and with the increase in the raw material prices, if the margins increase and we have a similar increase in the operational cost, then probably we should be able to make a little more.
Okay. At least will the margins come back to our old run rate of 17-18%?
सर एक बात बताओ, 1.5% में
17 EBITDA है.
हाँ तो क्या तो ये साल कितना EBITDA हुआ? 17.5.
15.4.
15.4 बराबर है. ये बात कर रहे हैं 17-17.5 की. 2% के तो फर्क है, क्या लंबी कहानी है सर. इट विल गो अबाउट.
Q4 में 10% आ गया था ना, उसके लिए पूछ रहा हूँ
सर. उससे बेटर ही होगा श्रीधर साहब. देयर इज नथिंग टू वरी अबाउट इट.
Okay. And on this sulfur capex that you all are putting, is this backward integration further?
Outside sales, yes, this is a part of the backward integration chemistry also, because we are going into intermediates also.
बराबर. Sir, so इसका कितना capex होगा और कितना external sales मिलेगा?
Around 75 crore का total capex होगा. 170. हाँ. और additional revenue company 250 crore का generate करेगी.
250, as an incremental है ना ये?
100%. Yeah.
Okay, fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from the line of Bhagwan Chaudhary from Pivotal Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. Sir, out of this 200 crore intermediates, how much would be contribution from the HSA and vinyl sulfur?
Come again, Mr. Chaudhary, please.
Out of this 200 crore the intermediates revenue in the year, how much would be from the HSA and vinyl sulfur?
कौन सी 200 crore की sale की बात
करें? No, this year, overall year, the sale was nearly about 200 crores from intermediates. What I would say is that if at all you look at the capacities, our the vinyl sulfone and the H acid together constitutes nearly about 70-75% of the overall capacity. The other products which are there, they are very nominal, capacity-wise. So, question is that with this incremental, what exactly you would like to know?
I just want to know, sir, in terms of the value out of this 200 crore, how much the value contribution would be from the HSA and vinyl sulfone in the last year, FY18?
In FY18, what was the contribution? Of course, those figures I don't have.
In terms of the value contribution.
But then our major sales has been by way of H acid and VS only.
So it's fair to assume 75-80% from 200 crore would be from the vinyl sulfone and HSA.
Chaudhary sahab, wo figure abhi nahi hai. Let us not go on those figures. I understand what would be your next question. So let us, we don't have those figures as of now. We are not carrying those figures as of now, Mr. Chaudhary.
Okay, sir. Well, one more just, how much this raw material prices has been increased in terms of the overall basis, as you said that in Q4 onwards, and are there chances?
Altogether, if you will see that there is an incremental of raw material prices of around 12 to 15% on a consolidated basis, but on an individual basis, if you will go see certain products which have even gone up by, this 30%. Even like, nitric acid, if you see, caustic flex you see, acetic acid you see, these certain prices have gone almost by 25 to 30% also. But as the overall gambit, you will see around 10 to 12% almost the raw material inputs have gone up.
Got it. And so do you see the prices to stabilize, these prices to stabilize here, or there are further chances to increase?
Of the raw materials?
Of raw materials, right?
I think there could be some little bit impact into that, but now I believe is that as far as our finished product pricing is concerned, we are fully secured and covered for that also.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ankit Kaur from Systematic Shares and Stocks. Please go ahead.
Hi Puneet ji and hi Sen Gupta ji. Sir, एक ही question है sir. Considering the price where it was in Q4, HSC और नाइल सल्फोन का अपन price बढ़ने की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. Do we able to do 15% EBITDA margin in 1Q FY19? Is it possible, sir? वो अपन क्योंकि Q4 was very different, which was 10% sort of EBITDA margin. You understand?
Ankit ji, आपका सवाल मैं अगर reiterate करूँ तो your question is that like in Q4 our intermediate EBITDA margin जो कितना % था? Around 10-12% जो भी था.
Correct. हाँ total हाँ.
So what you're asking is that is there a possibility of going it to at a level of 15%? Is it the question?
हाँ मतलब प्राइस अपनी वही पकड़े कि 350 रुपए एचएसिड था और 220-230 रुपए विनाइल सल्फोन प्राइस ये 1Q में.
सर सिंपल चीज बताओ, एचएसिड आज डबल हो चुका.
हाँ.
वो 14-15 मिलेगा कि 17-18 मिलेगा या 20 मिलेगा? तो आज बोलना मुश्किल है.
नहीं, व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड सर इसमें कि अपन जब बोल रहे हैं कि जो कैपेसिटी अनयूटिलाइज थी अपनी लास्ट 3 अपने जो मेजर केपेक्स थे वो आए लेकिन उसको पूरा यूटिलाइज नहीं कर पाए अपन एचएसिड एसओपी और डाइस्टफ वाला. अगर मेरे को टाइम मिलता है वो कैपेसिटी यूटिलाइज करने का 1Q 2Q में कंसिडरिंग मेरे प्राइस आज के वहाँ का वहाँ ही है 1Q में भी.
अच्छा आप ये बोल
तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि अगर वो यूटिलाइजेशन आज समझो 10-15% था फॉर एग्जाम्पल.
आप ये बोलना चाह रहे हो कि अगर भाव 350 और 225 का ही है तो अपने जो लास्ट ईयर में वो कैपेक्स फुल टाइम नहीं यूज कर सके तो क्या इस साल में अगर फुल टाइम यूज करे तो वेदर विल बी एबल टू अचीव 14-15% और नॉट? दैट इज द क्वेश्चन.
हाँ मैं वो पूछना चाहता हूँ.
आई थिंक आराम से कोई इशू नहीं है उसके अंदर. मिस्टर सेन गुप्ता वुड लाइक टू एड समथिंग टू दिस रिप्लाई.
Ankit, what I would suggest is that if at all you have the figures of third quarter also, the average raw material input cost was roughly about 67.8%.
Correct.
Whereas if at all you take the fourth quarter this year, it is 74.48%.
Right.
So if at all you see, there has been roughly about 6 to 7% rise, though consequently, proportionately, the selling price has not gone up. That was the only reason why this has come down from last year. The EBITDA was 18.12 third quarter, and here in the fourth quarter now we have about 10.11. So once the price goes up in proportion to whatever the raw material price increase has been there, obviously we will be in a position to come back to that 17 to 18%.
Okay, and the spark of those 17 and 18% can be seen in first half या फिर वो second half में ही ये 17-18 कहीं stabilize होगा?
We will get it in the first half itself.
First half itself. Okay, boss. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, that was the last question. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Puneet Makaria for closing comments. Thank you and over to you.
Thank you for all joining on the con call. I hope we have been able to answer all of your queries. For any further queries, please get in touch with our Investor Relation Advisor, SGA. Thanks, Vanan.